Well, welcome into the My Dogs Are Barking podcast. My name is Landon, and today is going to be a good day. We are discussing Mississippi State's 2023 game-by-game predictions. There's been a lot of different things said in the media about what this team will be, but I'm going to give you my take on it. And we'll also look at the 2023 depth chart that was released on Monday that is encouraging, some surprises on there, but overall, it ought to get us all really excited about this Saturday for the season to I would say officially kick off. Stay tuned for the My Dogs Are Barking podcast.
God, I'm telling you, my dogs are barking today.
But man, my dogs are barking.
Well, welcome in to My Dogs Are Barking podcast. And this week is a big week. It is the start of the 2023 week one. We had week 0. So technically speaking, college football has started, but it really feels like this is the weekend for Mississippi State. For the rest of the SEC, we are kind of starting this season off on Thursday when Utah takes on Florida. And then there's some other games on Thursday. But Mississippi State on Saturday has their first game of the season versus Southeastern Louisiana. And so today we are going to walk through the depth chart, which was released on Monday. This is week 1, so of course things can change, but this is just as we can look right now where the depth chart is. Of course, over the course of a season, there will be probably some things switched. There will be some injuries more than likely. But for right now, we are going to go over the depth chart. We're going to go over, and we're actually going to give a My Dogs Are Barking prediction for game by game, going through each game and giving my opinion on that. But first off, let's take a look at the depth chart. For Mississippi State, I think something that I've really, when you kind of look at it visually, I guess it's incredible to think about how much depth is on this team. The amount of graduate players, redshirt seniors, upperclassmen that are on this depth chart, and particularly on the starting roster, is just incredible. I mean, you go over the defensive side of the ball. You take a look at that defensive line: senior, graduate, senior. Go to the linebackers, seniors. Go to the secondary, senior, graduate, student, senior. You got a sophomore in Hunter Washington, the 4-star transfer from Florida State, playing in one of those safety spots, and Marcus Banks, senior. Asai Spurge, graduate, senior. Like, you have so much experience. And I understand that Mississippi State lost a lot in the secondary, but you got a lot of guys who have played plenty of snaps, who played in primetime SEC football games. That's encouraging. But then also look at the depth behind there at the starting cornerback spot. Of course, DeCamerion Richardson takes that spot left by Emmanuel Forbes, which we all expected. But freshman Bryce Pollock, who we've heard a lot of good stuff in camp, heard a lot of good stuff about him in camp. As a freshman, getting that number 2 spot, he's going to get a lot of snaps this season. So incredible amount of depth on that defense specifically. But then flip over to the offensive line. Take a look at what's there. Senior. All these guys, these are 5th years and in some case 6-year players on the offensive line. A lot of experience. Now the question is, can they flip from an air raid style of offensive line to what Kevin Barbay is going to be running now? That's kind of the big question. But in terms of, did these guys have any experience? Absolutely. Have they lined up against first-round draft picks? Absolutely. That's good news. Then you go over to the quarterback, Will Rogers, not really a surprise. Mike Wright getting that backup spot, not really a surprise. Jaquavius Marks, of course, again, no surprise. But then here's where one of the surprises are. Seth Davis, 4-star out of Katy, Texas, has worked his way up to the second string. He's worked his way up to running back number 2. It's kind of that the either or. So Seth Davis or Simeon Price will get that spot. But we've heard some things about Seth Davis, and even Zach Arnett mentioned some things about how talented he is and how they can kind of see him being a Deuce Vaughn kind of guy, catching the ball in the backfield. Really excited to see Seth Davis. And if you follow Mississippi State recruiting and you watch any of Seth Davis's film, you're impressed, but at the same time, you kind of saw that this was a possibility. Jeffrey Pittman, we heard a lot of good stuff on in camp as well, the number 1 rated JUCO running back that came into Mississippi State this season. But apparently Kevin Barbay and Coach Arnett just believe that Seth Davis can really be effective in this style of play. I am so excited to see this. And then lastly, you look over at the wide receiving core. Justin Robinson had a huge season for Mississippi State last year, really came on as the season went on and was very strong towards the end. So he's starting there in that X spot. You got Freddie Robertson in kind of the either or. So they'll both be playing out. I imagine Justin Robinson will get the majority of those snaps. Also, he changed his number to number 3. So he was 18 last year. He's 3 this year. Tulu Griffin at the H spot. And then, Creed Whitmore or Antonio Harmon for that backup spot. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of Creed. With a guy who's really talented like that, you want to get him on the field, but he doesn't have experience. And so I think if he proves himself early on in the season, we're really going to be in a very good spot for Mississippi State. At the given moment, it says for the tight end position, the depth chart says Rylan Goede or Jaquarius Spivey. So really either or, I bet both of those guys are going to get plenty of snaps. And really, I think it's going to kind of come down to, it's obvious, but who's going to show out more early on? Between those two guys, I don't know. Remember, Rylan Goede's I don't think he's got a pass in his career. Now, of course, transfer from Georgia, where this might be the greatest tight end 1-2 punch that we've ever seen in Darnell Washington and Brock Bowers. So, why in the world would he get on the field at that point? But you do have to go, okay, well, it's going to take a moment to see how he adjusts. Jaquarius Spivey, hey, he can say he's caught a pass in a national championship game. That's something not a lot of players can say. The former Mississippi State transfer, the transfer to TCU, that transferred back to Mississippi State this season. Excited to see that. And then there's the kicker position. Kicker Nick Barmira was the transfer from UCLA and kicked the ball pretty well there. Was pretty consistent. But he has been beaten out by Kyle Ferry, the true freshman. Now, the reason this is Nick Barmira, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but he's missed some time with some injuries, and I read a report that said he had not really been kicking, which is kind of an issue with the kicker. So Nick Ferry will start that way, and honestly, it's going to come down to whoever's more consistent. Goodness, we saw last year. Mike Leach was not afraid to say, you know what, we're going to switch kickers around if someone wasn't getting it done. And there were some games that quite frankly, could have been won had it not been for some kicking woes. So that is going to be very, very important. The punter, the Australian Keelan Crimmins, the true freshman from Australia, is going to be starting there. Kick return, punt return, no surprise. Tulu Griffin and Xavier Thomas there for the kick return. What a duo. The best. Last season was the best 1-2 punch they've seen returning kicks possibly ever. Just their averages were so remarkable, and they took a few to the house. Punter, Xavier Thomas, again, not a surprise. Such a talented player. And Jaden Wally backing him up there. So that is the 2 deep for Mississippi State. That is what it is looking like so far. And I'm excited. I love how this is shaping up. Not a ton of surprises. Honestly, the biggest surprise for me was just Seth Davis working his way up that far. As a true freshman, as a 5'7", what is he, $155? What is he, $185? That's good. So 5'7", 185. Being sharing that running back 2 responsibility at an SEC program is huge. That just shows you how great he's performing so far. So I'm so excited for Saturday. It's going to be a great time. The high is 88. The low is 70. There's currently a 40% chance as of Monday of rain. So would not be shocked. You guys remember that Memphis game last year, how we started out was certainly not ideal. So, but that is okay. So yeah, that game's going on at 3 o'clock is the kick. Going to be a fun time. Hope people can come out and start this Zach Arnett era. It's going to be a fun Mississippi State weekend because we've got that. Then also, if you're a concert guy, Hardy, country music artist Hardy, is going to be in Tuscaloosa the night before, Friday night at a concert. He's a big Mississippi State fan that is not afraid to rock Mississippi State on stage anywhere. So it's going to be a good weekend. I can't wait. I will be at both of those events, so I'm super excited. Now, we're going to transition from the depth chart and from the 2 deep, and we're going to look at the schedule for Mississippi State. We're going to go by each game. I know there is no shortage of analysts that you can look at and who have given their opinion on Mississippi State. Now, in terms of national media, really has not been anything positive, I would say, for Mississippi State. A lot of people, obviously they're voted to finish last in the SEC West. I mean, that's, what more can you say? And then I think that you kind of have two extremes. You have some folks. I mean, Barrett Sallee was one of our last guys we spoke to. He does not expect them to win 7 games. And then you have other people who are Mississippi State, I would consider to be homers, which, that's fine, who think we're going to win 10 games. And to me, it's so hard to pick any one of those two extremes. While I can see Mississippi State winning 9 and 10 games and having a great year and this offense really moving, because there's great skill players for Mississippi State's offense, and defensively, as we already mentioned, there's a ton of depth. And they were a really good team last year. So I could see that happening. But also, I've followed Mississippi State football long enough in my life to know that it is possible to be let down in some of those. So we're going to go game by game. We're going to pick these games here, but I'm excited. So let's get into it. So first off, Southeastern Louisiana. I'm going to go with a loss for Mississippi State. No, I'm joking. Mississippi State's going to win that game and probably score as – I don't even think there's a line in Vegas. I think they're just going to score as much as they want, as they should. It's going to be a fun time. Next Saturday is against Arizona, and that's a home game in Starkville. And Arizona got better last year. There's no question about it. I think Jed Fisher's doing a great job. Jaden Delora is a really fun quarterback. We saw last year he made some plays. He could scramble, very elusive, and so I think overall Mississippi State's the better team. Certainly, it's a night game. It's in Starkville. It'll be that first kind of evening kickoff. I think it's going to be hard for Arizona to win that game, but I do think it's going to be a battle. I think Jaden Delora is going to make some plays. Just because he can improvise. He can make things happen. Now, with that, anyone who's ever been a fan of Brett Favre and shoot, even Patrick Mahomes knows when you improvise as a quarterback, you can do some amazing things and scramble out of the pocket and throw a pass way down the field and complete it and make it look incredible. The flip side of that is you can also improvise and really make some mistakes. So he's going to have to be careful on how he plays on Saturday, on the night. But I think Mississippi State ultimately is going to get the win. They are going to win that game and be fine. So that makes them 2-0. Now, LSU at home. Mississippi State's got 3 home games to start the season, and it's an 11 a.m. kick. And we've seen LSU even last season kind of struggle out of the gate. And I know a lot of people believe LSU is. I think a lot of people think LSU is foregone conclusion. They're going to be in the SEC championship over Alabama. But, man, I don't know. I think Mississippi State has a great opportunity to win. Honestly, Mississippi State has all of the combinations, I think, that are well. It's an early game, and I can't over-exaggerate enough. I really think LSU struggles with that sometimes. And this is the third game for Kevin Barbay's system. Has the potential for Mississippi State to kind of be hitting on all cylinders. Mississippi State and LSU, I think this is going to be a really good game. I think Mississippi State's going to have a lot of potential to win this one. I don't see it happening, though. I think Mississippi State has, again, so much talent. I think this will be a very close game. But because of one mistake or another, I think LSU is just going to capitalize. I think it could be a 3-point game. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I think LSU is going to win this game in a very close game because they have a lot of talent. There's just no denying that. So I think Mississippi State's going to lose this game to give them their first loss to be 2-1. Now, this is a tough stretch. You lose against LSU, I believe. Then you go on the road against South Carolina, and I would like to say I really believe Mississippi State has a better team than South Carolina. Spencer Rattler is incredibly talented, but as a team, as a whole, I think Mississippi State's the better team. This is going to be a tough game. Going on the road and playing South Carolina, I believe Mississippi State's the better team. But boy, oh boy, is this going to be a hard game to win. It's going to be really tough. But give me the Bulldogs in a close one. I think Mississippi State wins on the road. Again, very good game, very entertaining. I think Mississippi State probably should win this one by more points than they will. I guess that's probably a good way to put it. So that puts them at 3-1. Then Alabama comes to town September 30th. The part I do like about this game, if you notice, Mississippi State, and I'm, let's see, since 2006, 2007, Mississippi State, unless I'm just missing one, has played Alabama in November or like, the very last week of October. They have not played them in September in a long time. Again, I want to say 2006, but I could be wrong, which was a game Mississippi State won. And so it's better to have Alabama early than late, because I feel like, man, in November, Alabama is just humming, and they just don't lose a lot of games because they've had time to get it together. Where you want to beat Alabama is then that kind of early September, late September. Alabama doesn't lose a lot of games anyway, but this is a great place to have them. But I don't think Mississippi State pulls out the win here. Alabama is so talented, and I know the quarterback situation is, what's it going to look like? Will Jalen Milroe be effective? Will he be a starter even? That's still being kind of fleshed out. I think Alabama's going to win this game. I think it's close, but I think it's a better situation than usual, but it's just going to be hard to win. So wins against Southeastern Louisiana, wins against Arizona, wins against South Carolina. So we're 3-2 going into October 7th at home versus Michigan, Western Michigan. That's going to be a dub there, and then on the road in Fayetteville. Now, if you remember, 2 years ago, there was a bye week in between us, so Mississippi State gets a bye week. If you remember, 2 years ago in Arkansas, Mississippi State lost a very close game, and it was a game in which there were missed field goals, there were some penalties that weren't called, or penalties that were called that were not as accurate as what most people think. I have a feeling Mississippi State's going to win this game, and I just have a weird feeling about Arkansas this year, and it's not a positive one, unfortunately. As much as I like KJ Jefferson, I think he's an awesome quarterback, but because he does so much, and he runs because he's so talented, and he does a great job. Rocket Sanders is an elite running back, but he got nicked up last year, and I don't have a good feeling about it for Arkansas. So I'm going to say Mississippi State wins that game and sits us there at 5-2. Now 5-2 going into Auburn. This is a tough stretch. I mean, you do get the bye week, but then you go at Arkansas and then right back on the road at Auburn. This is a game that at this point in the season, Auburn probably has an idea figured out on what their quarterback situation looks like, what's the best case scenario for them. I think this is going to be a good game. Auburn's not going to be bad this year. They're improving and they're rebuilding, but Hugh Freeze is going to have his guys ready. And so I think this is a good game. I think Auburn probably has some explosive plays, but I think Mississippi State's winning this one to get 6-2, which makes them bowl eligible going into the start of November. So 6-2, hosting Kentucky in Starkville. This is homecoming. This is the interlocking MSU, and there's just no way Mississippi State's going to lose this game for a couple of reasons. I don't know what it is, and Kentucky fans on the other side, I've got several friends who are Kentucky fans and alumni. Whoever has the home, whoever is home in this game usually wins the game as of the last, 6 years, it seems. Even you go back to 2014, Mississippi State played on the road in Kentucky. They were great that year, right? And Kentucky was really close to pulling off an upset. It took a Christian Holmes onside kick return for a touchdown to kind of, you remember Turtle Holmes, number 44, to kind of put the nail in the coffin. But Kentucky fought like crazy in that game, and they always play so hard. I think Mississippi State's winning this game. I think it's going to be a crowd that is going to be. I think this is going to be an amazing crowd. The interlocking MSU, it's homecoming. There's a positive trajectory because by the time you start in November, you don't have Georgia, no LSU. You finished Auburn. You don't have Bama. You've got a. This is a very good trajectory to go on. So I'm going to say Mississippi State wins this game and goes to 7-2. At this point, you count them up. That's 4 wins in a row. And now you're going in to play Texas A&M November 11th, Saturday night in College Station. And I got to tell you, as much as I want to say Mississippi State's going to win this game because they played, I don't know what it is, but Mississippi State has Texas A&M's number for some reason. I think A&M's going to win this game. And I think it's just too many variables. I mean, there's a lot of people who think they're going to be really hard to beat this year. I don't know if that's the case. I feel like this late in November, it's going to be hard to beat Texas A&M in College Station. It just will. There will be teams that do it, but it's just going to be hard November 11th. And so because of that, I'm going to say this is a loss for Mississippi State. I don't want to. I love Mississippi State's team. We always seem to play well against A&M, but I just think this is going to be a close loss. So if you're counting at home, that's 7-3. Southern Miss is up next. I'm going to go with the Bulldogs there. It's always fun to play Southern Miss. I love it. Now, I will say, for the Golden Eagles and for their alumni, they love nothing more than to say, ha, we beat you. I've got some family that's alumni of Southern Miss, and they would love to get a win here in Starkville. I don't think it's going to happen. It's Military Appreciation Day, so we're going to salute the troops and take the victory in Starkville. So that brings Mississippi State to 9-3. Wait, 9-3? No, 8-3. My apologies. Takes them to 9-3 going into the Egg Bowl. And as we know, this is the game you want to win. Zach Arnett last year, his defense was really incredible versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss was explosive all season long and had the best running back, one of the best offensive players in the nation in Quinshon Judkins. And it was unbelievable. Matt Brock and that defense were so good with Zach Arnett. And now you look at Ole Miss, it's likely Jackson Dart is the starter for them again. Quinshon Judkins is going to be incredible as he was every game last year. This one is in Starkville. It's on Thanksgiving. It's going to be huge. It's going to be big because Mississippi State has the potential to go 9-3. And I know last year in Starkville, Mississippi State got the win, and they kind of traded back and forth. And there's no way I could be picking Ole Miss in this game. Mississippi State is going to win this game. It's going to be great as always. Lane Kiffin is so fun, and his offenses are always so good. But if you think about it, at this point in the season, Mississippi State's played all their games. Their offense, whatever they're doing at this point, they got it figured out. This is what they're going to do. And so, Senior Day in Starkville, Thanksgiving night, it's going to be a great game. I just think the returners on defense for Mississippi State, you got to think about it. All these players that are returning, including the top leading tacklers in the SEC, Jet Johnson and Buki Watson, were there last season, and they were playing defense against this great team, and did an incredible job and really, really held Judkins in check for as good as Judkins is. I mean, he's going to get touches, he's going to get yards because he's incredible. He's one of the best running backs in the nation. But I think Mississippi State is going to win this game. And I got to say, so I have them here at 9-3. And I will say it's not a super confident 9-3 because of I could see Mississippi State dropping on the road at South Carolina. And again, not because South Carolina is the better team. I just don't know. Like, it's just, I've seen too many Mississippi State games where we go, okay, we should win this game. We're better than this team. And it just doesn't happen because of one reason or another. And if you've been a Mississippi State fan any amount of time, or you covered Mississippi State, you know that that's true. That we drop some games that are just like, why did that happen? And it's just because of circumstances. Like I said, Arkansas 2 years ago, the way that game was playing out, Mississippi State should have taken it, but they could not. And so I could see the one that I really feel like if there's any game that's going to be dropped, it's going to be that one that's against South Carolina. I don't have a great feeling about it. But I do chalk it up as a win because I do think Mississippi State's more talented overall, like has a more complete team. South Carolina has some skill players that are really good, and Rattler's obviously very talented. But that's where I'm leaving it. 9-3. I've got the Bulldogs, which will be incredible with a chance to be 10-3 in a bowl game. I mean, for Zach Arnett's first year, that would be absolutely incredible. It really would. And I understand people that say, I just don't think so. But I'm just telling you, if you look at the over-unders, you've got to take the over. There's no chance Mississippi State's winning less than 7 games because they haven't. I mean, that hasn't happened very often at all. I mean, Mississippi State's going to win, get to another bowl game, and really start to build this offense. I think I'm excited to see what Will Rogers is going to be. But as I mentioned, 9-3 is where I'm leaving it. My confidence level on a scale from 1 to 10 on that is probably, and I hate to say it, it's probably right at just, I don't know, 7.1 out of 10. It's a 7-1. There's a lot of variables that could go wrong, some missed kicks. We don't know how the field goal situation is going to turn out. We just, college kickers, right? We have no clue. I'm excited. I would love to hear your thoughts on where you think Mississippi State is going to finish before we just kick off this Saturday. So leave a comment on Twitter. You can leave a comment on YouTube and subscribe because that really helps out. That lets me know if there's anybody who's enjoying this content. I love Mississippi State. I love the SEC, and so I enjoy talking about it. But there's a lot of really talented people out there to listen to as well. So if you subscribe, that lets me know, okay, well, you enjoy it even just a little bit. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Is there a game that I have as a loss that maybe you would have as a win? And then on the flip side, is there a win that you say, I don't know, I think this is why they might drop this one. So again, I would love to know. Let me know in the comments. Hail State, it's football season. I'm excited to watch SEC football. I cannot wait. It's going to be a good time. Be careful driving, be careful traveling, and let's enjoy the most wonderful time of the year. Hail State.